All right, today we're diving into an approach to early science that's, well, it's pretty special. It's Montessori zoology. Now, this is a method that takes a child's natural curiosity about animals and mixes hard science with something you might not expect, real heartfelt compassion. So let's get into how it all works. But first, just think about it for a second. When a kid learns about the animal kingdom, what are we really teaching them? Is it just a list of facts? Names, what they eat, where they live? Or could it be something way, way deeper? Well, the Montessori method basically says that real learning goes so far beyond just memorizing stuff. It's not about knowing that a bee buzzes or a lion roars. Nope. It's about understanding the life behind the name and our own connection to it. And that leads us to the core philosophy here, which you could almost call science with a soul. The whole idea isn't just to fill a child's brain with information. It's about nurturing their spirit and building this deep, lasting respect for the entire natural world. This isn't a new idea either. It comes straight from the founder, Maria Montessori herself. She was convinced that all these big, abstract concepts only become real and meaningful when children can actually experience them with their own hands. That direct contact. It's not just a nice teaching trick. It's the absolute foundation for real understanding. So the way this works is kind of like two parallel tracks running at the exact same time. On one side, you have the science, right? Classification, anatomy, life cycles, all the stuff you'd expect. But on the other side, at the very same moment, they're learning the values that go with it. Respect for every living thing, a sense of responsibility for their care, and empathy. The two are just completely woven together. Okay, so that sounds great in theory, but how do you actually teach this stuff in a classroom? Well, the answer is in these beautifully designed, hands-on materials that make these huge ideas totally accessible, building a child's knowledge piece by piece. And the process is just so logical and layered. It kicks off with these amazing zoology puzzles. They're these wooden puzzles where an animal is broken down into its main parts. The head, the limbs, the torso. This gives a child a physical, tangible feel for an animal's anatomy. Then they move on to what are called three-part cards to learn the actual names for those parts: a fin, a beak, a shell. And then finally, they use classification charts to organize everything they've learned into the big scientific groups like mammals, birds, and reptiles. So the whole point here, the really crucial part, is that these materials take the abstract world of biology and make it completely concrete. They turn all this complex scientific info into something a kid can literally hold in their hands, move around, and genuinely understand. It's just a brilliant, effective way to learn. But remember, all those amazing tools and charts, that's only half the story. The other half, which is just as important, comes from directly interacting with living creatures. And that's where kids learn these profound lessons in kindness and care. And this is key, because in Montessori, zoology is never just about collecting facts or sticking labels on things. It's all about fostering a living, breathing relationship with the animal world. It's about understanding that we all share this planet. And you build that relationship through these small, everyday moments. It's in the gentle act of feeding a class rabbit and realizing, hey, it needs food and water just like me. It's in that quiet moment of awe watching a butterfly come out of its chrysalis, understanding how vulnerable that is. It's going on nature walks, not just to spot squirrels, but to actually watch them and see how they're getting ready for winter. Even just watching an ant's journey can teach you so much about teamwork and how every little job matters. These are lessons no book could ever teach. The result is so simple, but so powerful. When you trust a child with the care of another living being, it doesn't matter if it's a plant, an insect, or the class turtle. They learn the fundamentals of kindness and empathy. Responsibility stops being a word and becomes a real lived experience. So let's zoom out. When you put all this together, the scientific knowledge and the compassionate action, what's the end game? What's the big picture this whole approach is trying to paint for a child? The core goal is to instill this deep, gut-level understanding that we, as humans, we aren't separate from nature. We're an integral part of this huge, interconnected web of life. And when you see the world that way, it just naturally creates this sense of connection and responsibility for every single creature, big and small. So ultimately, the aim of Montessori zoology isn't just to create future biologists or vets, though it can certainly do that. The real goal is to help raise compassionate, respectful, and responsible human beings who really understand their place in the world. Which leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about, right? Just imagine a world where all science education didn't start with facts and figures, but was sparking a sense of wonder, a feeling of connection, and a deep sense of empathy. What kind of world would that be?